All right, everyone, welcome to Be the Market Expert. And so when we're looking at this, what we're going to start hearing more and more from me, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, is that we are in the season of renewal. And what that looks like is this, like we should be going through and getting into as many relationships as we possibly can with the people that we may have lost relationship with. Now, here's the thing. This is a doubly, if not triply, exciting time to be a real estate agent. And for multiple reasons. The first one is this, the type of season that we are in. The type of season that we are in currently right now is there are so many natural touch points with everything going on that it should be easy to have conversations with the people that we're in relationship with. Now, let's look at some things, right? We know that a lot of things are going on in our ecosystem, which is real estate. And one of the first things that I want to call out is this Housing Wire article that was from September 3rd. And it says the 25-year housing surge and why the boom is just beginning. Cool, guys. It says, are you positioned to work with millions of first-time home buyers who suddenly have parental cash backing them? So one of the things that we need to think about is this. Guys, we are going to be living as real estate agents through the largest wealth transfer that we have seen in our society. And if we are going through and we're taking care of our people and making sure that we are the real estate economists of choice and we are the conduit that is helping people make the largest real estate deal of their lives, and we are a part of that, like that's where things are going to get exciting. So check this out. It says, for years, doom and gloom headlines have hyped a looming housing crash. And guys, that's what you've been living through. We have been going through what has been deemed as a real estate recession. And here's the deal. There's no such thing as a real estate recession, right? A recession is a recession. There's all kinds of different market indicators that are pulling this thing in. And yet we have seen people pull back from purchasing homes. And what have you been going on? You guys can go on to YouTube, Fox, CNN, whatever, and people are saying, oh, the housing market, the housing crash, like all this other junk going through, and we're not seeing it. We have seen a slowdown, though. And it's not because people don't believe in purchasing real estate, right? Most people still believe that is the American dream. A lot of people have just raised their hand and says, I just don't think it's achievable for me, right? Because of the cost of money. And so when we look at this, this is the data demographics and the long-term trends tell a very different story. The United States isn't teetering on the edge of collapse. It's standing at the threshold of what they're calling a 25-year surge with a generational housing boom unlike anything we've ever seen before. All right, so let's look at this. $84 trillion wealth transfer with a T, trillions of dollars. It says, think of it this way. After World War II, the GI Bill and some new suburban construction launched one of the greatest wealth building periods in the US history, right? The baby boomer plus generation. As we looked at this thing, this was their beginning. And it says, today we're about to witness something even larger. It says, boomers and the silent generation are poised to pass down more than $80 trillion in wealth. And over the next 2 decades, right? So over the next 20 years, and you guys are in at the ground floor, right? We see this thing be on the rocket ship and ground floor and all this, and you guys are here. You guys are living it right now. And it says much of it will arrive in inheritances, down payment gifts, and all cash purposes. And guys, we're already living this, right? We are seeing these all cash purchases from the bank of mom and dad, purchasing the home, quick claiming it over to the kids. We're seeing them just gifting the money for them to go rush out and make the purchase. We're seeing them gift the 20% down. Guys, you are living through this. And so what we have to do as the real estate economists of choice and being the people that are going to be the conduit for the largest financial decision that most Americans make in their lifetime is make sure that we are taking so much mind share as this stuff is happening, because this is happening all around you. It says that flow of capital is going to accelerate home ownership for millennials and Gen Z, right? So they've been saving. They got rid of the avocado toast, and they haven't been doing anything with their coffee. They haven't been going to Starbucks as much, and they've been saving. But guess what? It looks like it does not matter. What's going to happen with this $80 trillion is they're going to be expecting some gifts that are going through it. So as that flow of capital accelerates this home ownership. Agents, here's your question. Are you positioned to work with millions of first-time home buyers who suddenly have parental cash backing them. And here's the deal, guys, be thinking about your ecosystems. And I can tell you that as a real estate agent and someone that has friends that I go to barbecues, right? Like raise your hand if you have friends and raise your hand if you go through and you do things with your friends, right? That should be all of us. And one of the things that as you're going to this, real estate's going to naturally come up. And you might have been looking through the room of these group of people and you said, like, listen, these guys don't have the capital to go out and purchase homes, but hopefully we were with them because their parents did. And if their parents were buying and transacting business, but what this is saying now is this: their parents are going to start giving some an inheritance probably before they pass away. And what are the kids going to do with it? It says pent up demand, guys. This is where we are living. We have pent up demand. And this is what's interesting, right? When we look at the median first-time home buyer age, it's 38 years old. This is a older millennial at this point. This was up from 35 years old just a year ago, and well above the late 20 norms in the past decades, right? We're not seeing first-time home ownership, right? I was one of those homeowners at the age of in my 20s owning a home, and yet we're just not seeing that anymore. Not because people do not believe in real estate. It's because the cost of money has gotten up there. The cost of real estate has gotten up there. We have an affordability issue. They're calling this an affordability constraint, adding years of the timeline, right? That's a lot of avocado toast to cut out. And NAR says the median first-time home buyer has reached an all-time high of 38. Cool, we're there. Millions are waiting for the affordability to approve. Demand isn't gone. It's just stacked up and waiting to be unleashed. And guys, that's where we all live right now. So it says what happens when millions of households who have been forced to delay moving suddenly see rates dip. And that's where we are right now, guys. We're going to look the very last, I'm going to call it a slide. The very last tab that I have open, we're going to look at this, guys. And you're going to see like we've seen a pretty drastic shift in interest rates right now. And if we're not making sure that all of our people are educated and we're not going to be the first point of contact that they have, someone else will. Someone else will. And guys, if for those that haven't been in this business for that long, I want to tell you something. There's nothing that sucks more than when you find out that your buddy went a different direction without you because someone else just had the conversation with them first. So it says lower mortgage rates. Guys, like here it is. We're going to look at a better graph than this. But here you got your 30-year, you got your FHA and your jumbos. Get rid of this jumbo. I'm not for the jumbo line. But if we look at this, here it is in 2020. All right. So here we are, 2024. We're shifting. And we're at the low spectrum here in 2025. Not the lowest, right? We had this big dip right here. But this is almost 1 year's worth of data that where you can say like this is the lowest it's almost been in almost a year. So when we look at this, when we look at the US home prices, the median, right? It's saying the median home price in 2025 is 441,000. Let's call it 442 between friends. And yet we live in a higher price point market. And so when you think about our people being priced out with the cost of money, like it just hits a little bit different. Now we do have more affluent people moving into Colorado. Right. If someone's not making north of, six figures, right? If they're not six figures plus at this point, I'm not saying, $1 billion or $1 million or anything, right? But when they're looking at this, we have people that are making $100,000 plus that are moving into Colorado. And it says in April 2025, the median home price of new single families, it did fall. Okay, so why is it falling? Like if we look at this, guys, we have seller fatigue. There is seller fatigue that is happening. They went through, they know that real estate agents are about to go to hibernation, right? Real estate agents, they're doing the countdown. We are in September 9th. They know they only have until October. Real estate agents are going to fall asleep as jack-o'-lanterns here in a second, and they're going to pop back up around Easter, rising as Easter bunnies. And they think of this whole seasonality. And so what's happening? They're saying this is our last ditch effort. We need to do something to get the ball moving. So we're seeing these home prices that are falling a little bit. And it says 20% of the resale listings have undergone price cuts. We're going to look at some different data that's probably going to show a little bit more than that. But it says this is the highest level since 2016. Guys, we're seeing the motivated sellers right now going through trying to figure out what they need to do to get their home sold. So We go through and it says millennials. Let's look at this millennial thing. It says they're just getting started. Millennials, the largest adult generation in US history. 73 million millennials out there, everyone. And here's the thing again, they've given up their avocado toast. They want home ownership. They're just looking for the path to get there. And what we're seeing again is this generational wealth transfer. It says in 2025, 52% of them intend to purchase a home. All right, guys, so here's the deal. They're raising their hand. We're seeing purchase mortgage application data go up, the highest it's been. And so what is happening is they're going through and they're figuring out, what can I qualify for? And what is this leading to? Maybe they're getting a little bit defeated, but they're going to talk to the bank of mom and dad at the same time. They're at the dining room table. Maybe it's family dinner. Maybe it's someone's birthday. Maybe it's one of the holidays that are coming up. Lots of holidays, guys. And so what is going on is they're going in, they're having the conversations. Yeah, I just spoke to a lender and, I'm a little bit short on cash. And so maybe I can't buy a house even though I really wanted to. They leave dinner, mom and dad talk, and they say, well, what can we do for them? We weren't planning on giving this money, but hey, we're okay. Should we give them some of their inheritance now? Guys, and these are very real conversations that are happening at the dinner table. And as the real estate economist of choice, we need to be making sure that we're talking to our people. So when they are able to afford a home, they're thinking about us. So we're not going to look at this examples, but let's talk about Gen Z. Gen Z, 69 million. All right, guys, so here we go. We got 73 million millennials. We have 69 million Gen Z. And when we're going through here, that says that 67% plan to purchase a home. We don't know what that looks like. But when we look at the numbers, 67% of this 69 million, they're saying 46 million potential buyers. And again, it's going to come down to affordability. The bank of mom and dad is going to be being a big piece of this. But let's go look at the bank of mom and dad. Let's talk about these boomers. The boomer generation still control the majority of the US housing wealth. They control most of the wealth, housing or not, as they retire, downsize, or relocate. And let's talk about this downsize or relocation piece, guys. Well, what are we also seeing? We're seeing mom and dad, older mom and dad, move in with their kids. We're seeing kids move in with older mom and dad, and that's freeing up inventory. What are we doing to make sure that we're having those conversations? Or mom and dad have a home, kids have a home. Neither one of those homes, they're bursting at the seams. They do want to live with one another because healthcare cost. And so what happens? They sell both houses and they move into another one. Guys, like these are very, very real scenarios that are happening. You guys are living through a time right now where this is your opportunity. And so when we look at this thing, they say this is what they're looking for. Inventory starved market, drive demand for age-friendly, single story, low maintenance home. And if they can't check those boxes, at the very least, they're like, I'm going to move in with my favorite kid. It's always the favorite kid, right? So their activity alone sustains millions of annual transactions. And again, this is lifestyle driven shifts, because here's the deal, guys, most of their homes, they're paid off. Right? We have to think about these people that bought their home in the early 1990s. Their homes are paid off. They do not have a mortgage, guys. And so while they're just paying their taxes, and keep in mind, they're cut in half because they're old. Old people pay less taxes. Newsflash, if you guys did not know that, they're paying less taxes. So they're paying their electricity, they're paying for their subscription to CNN or Fox News or whatever news source that they're getting them from. And they don't have a lot of expenses. It's a lifestyle shift. They want to move within with the kids. The kids are going to move in with them. They want to be by the grandkids. They want to be in a different climate, right? Like these are the things that are driving their decisions. And it says, with mortgage applications in rural areas up 80% since the pandemic began. Guys, we're seeing this. Like, do you have people in your ecosystem that are like, I'm getting out of Denver, I'm going to go move to the country? Guys, these are very real conversations that are happening. It says rural home list prices have grown 64% since 2019, which is outpacing the metro. A lot of people are running from these metro areas. They're getting out. They're like, I'm going to get back to the roots. I've never been on a farm before, but that's where I'm going. So then we go and we look at this undersupply, new home sales, but let's fast forward and it shows this US home sales through 2045. These are just crystal ball. Again, take it with a grain of salt. But it's saying that this is where they think there could be 5.5 million sales in 30, 5.9 in 35, 5.9 in 45. And it's saying, but if things go gangbusters, and again, it's going to come down to affordability, money transfers, this thing could get almost up to 7.1 million sales. Guys, here's the deal. This is what we have to keep in mind. The only reason why there's not a lot of sales right now is because we have a lot of frustrated money. We were to go quote Robert Kiyosaki, especially thinking about in the Colorado market where we all live and do business. With our price point being $600,000, with the cost of money being up there too, our money does not go as far. And so what is happening is these people are just sitting on the fence. We have so many people sitting on the fence. And think about this. Think about the conversations that people are having right now. There's a lot of conversations where people are saying, I'm going to wait for the right home. Guys, we're having a ton of those conversations. I'm waiting for the right home to come online. And because they don't want to make another move, they don't have faith that interest rates are going to get back down to very low. So they only want to make the move once. They don't want to have to come 20% out of pocket again, right? These are the different things. What are we doing to make sure that we are helping them? So then we look at this, right? Here are your annual sales. NAR's predicting today 4.8 million sales. So we look at this against the 7.1, guys, this is a pretty big jump. And then what are they going through here? So they're saying by the 2035 boom, 7.1, which kind of lines up to what the other sales, what they're kind of predicting versus the other economists that are putting out this information. So guys, they're saying 2035, like if things go like weird, like interest rates, tariffs, the economy, jobs, 1.6 would be the low, which is significantly lower than where they're predicting where we're going to land right now. All right. So this is agents required. Now we go through and we fast forward. These are your bottom lines. These are your headlines. Millennials and Gen Zs will guarantee decades of demand, and they will, guys. They are. They absolutely are. It says boomers will release inventory. Yeah, absolutely, guys. Here, millennials and Gen Z probably aren't putting most inventory on the board, right? They don't own houses. They're just consumers, right? They're going to take inventory off the board, which is awesome. We need buyers because we do know that buyers become sellers. Historically speaking, that's how this thing goes. You buy a house, you sell a house. You buy a house, you sell a house. You don't typically sell a house unless you bought one, right? Unless you inherit it. But they're saying boomers, they're going to be releasing inventory back in. It says lower mortgage rates. Here's the key, guys. Lower mortgage rates, lending surges, equity rich owners. Like these are the people that are going to be doing some different things. The American dream ensures home ownership remains non-negotiable. The American dream is not dead, everyone. The American dream has gotten to this point where there's people that are like, I'm not giving up on it, but I don't think that I'm going to be able to obtain it. And I'm not going to be able to obtain it because of the cost of money. Now, here's the deal. This is what we probably will see. Not that I have a crystal ball, but if let's just say that the cost of money does not go down and people are not making as much money, especially AI. Let's just say AI disrupts a lot of stuff. And honestly, it probably will. We just don't know what the magnitude, what Skynet looks like at the end of all this. But this is what we can think about. When we're looking at affordability might not go down. We might see that AI is replacing some jobs. What will most likely happen is we'll probably see something like a 40-year fixed rate mortgage, which isn't super awesome, but yet it does help more people get into home ownership. They'll probably just never own the home outright in all reality, unless they live in it forever. But again, we're seeing a lot of people raise their hand and say that's their strategy. So we actually might see that as families are purchasing home, maybe they do turn into forever homes and family estates going forward. We may see that shift. Again, no crystal ball, but I think that that is a realistic outcome that we could be running into. So let's look at this, and I think this is important. Home builder layoffs rise, especially in Texas and Florida. Okay, cool. So California, Texas, Florida, some of the most populated areas that we have, right? Like the giant landmass, it makes sense that a lot of people live there. Pretty much true until you get into like Wyoming. So, as real estate agents, and when we are trying to look at our crystal ball and try to make any educated guess on what is happening, we can kind of look at home builders firing people and say, okay, what is happening? When you look at these piece contractors, right, guys, you hire someone to go put up a roof. That's a piece. You hire someone to frame a house. Most of these guys are not going through and doing the whole process, right? You don't hire the same guy that's going to put on the roof to put down the tile. They have a piece that is their job specific. They go in, they knock it out, they get paid. What this is saying is, okay, we're seeing Texas and Florida fire some people. Okay, so we have less people doing work. What does that probably mean? That they're building less houses. Why would they build less houses? They're building less houses because of demand. Well, why is the demand going down? Because they're their own bank. It's because they have too much inventory on the board. All right, so these guys have too much inventory on the board. Keep in mind what happened in 2008. They got caught holding the bag. All right, go watch The Big Short. So what happened is they went through, they were building all these houses, they were getting money, and then they were building. You will build it, they will come. That was their motto, and they got caught. We had the housing crisis, right? To where we had all these homes, this zombie foreclosure, the rise of the zombie foreclosure, right? So if you're not familiar with the term, the zombie foreclosure, these were homes where no one was living in them. People were owning 2, 3, 4 homes, which was not a problem. That wasn't the issue. The issue was Airbnb, VRBO, none of that stuff was happening. So these people weren't renting out their homes. They were just given these mortgages, and they weren't making payments. The bankers were driving by, and they were like, well, the grass isn't cut. And there's a bunch of mail that is overflowing through the mailboxes. And there's a broken window, right? And this is where the bird dog came from, where these guys go through and you bird dog for them and you go find a property and you sell it to a wholesaler. Like, this is why this whole thing has come up. So what they do, they learn from their mistakes, like most of us do. They learn from their mistakes and they're like, okay, slow drip. We're only going to release enough inventory to where we can keep our prices high. Well, Texas and Florida, they got caught a little bit. And so when we look at this thing, it says John Burns Research and Consulting share of home buyers or home builders reports layoffs among peers in their local housing markets. So they just list Texas and Florida and then Northern California, right? Again, the largest land masses that we have with populations. And then they're going through and they're saying, okay, so here we are, here's your Northwest, your Northeast, your Midwest, guys. And so 60%. That's what we're living through right now. So when we go in, here is your US residential construction employment. So as we look at this thing, we're kind of seeing it flatten out, which makes sense. Not a lot of people are purchasing homes, but we're actually getting to a point right now, and we're going to see some things happen. What happens with the Fed here very shortly is probably going to dictate a lot of stuff going forward. And while we don't know, and again, no crystal balls, I can tell you right now, and I pretend to know. My wealth manager moved a lot of our stuff into bonds recently. And so I'm not sure what they think is going to be happening. I actually just saw that this move. They got out of a lot of aggressive stuff and went into let's just hold the lines. And so I think a lot of people believe that we're going to see some things with the Fed dropping rates, which is where everyone believes which is going to happen. But here's your housing permits. So here's 2009. Remember, crash. It got super weird. Builders stopped building, right? Single family, multifamily. So this is 5+. This is single family. You guys can see this this 2 to 4, these row homes doesn't really do anything. Row homes, in my mind, right? This isn't a whole lot. This is just steady. Like, they're going to happen, but they're not anything big. Single family. Okay, that's most of the American dream, but here's multifamily. This is where builders are making most of their money right now. So what are we seeing? We saw this big teeter off, right? Here's your housing crash. Go watch The Big Short. We saw this kind of go up 20. Here's your pandemic. We saw this huge, like, oh my God, the world's ending, checkpoints, right? We didn't know what was going on. Then we got up to here again. So here's your 23, 24 time period where we had these high interest rates and no one was moving again. And things have kind of gone down. So your multi-level has gone down, even though this is where they're making most of their money. They're not doing a whole lot. And your single family is going down. Guys, this is someone that is going through, these are for-profit companies that are not pulling housing permits. It doesn't mean they don't own the land, right? You guys might see that, like, especially in Colorado, we're going to see that. We're going to see that they bought the land, they're getting the land ready, but there's a lot of companies that never go through and build anything. They get the land ready and they sell it, they dump it off. They're like, you know what? We might not make as much as we thought we were, and they get rid of the land. Well, this is saying that they still own the land and they're starting to pull the permits to build. We're seeing it dip off again. We're seeing this dip. And so what this probably means, if we're looking at this, that when homes start to come online, depending what the motivations are for our buyers, are they going to wait 12 months for their new home? Or are they in a little bit of a bigger hurry to actually get into a house? Let's look at some Colorado data, though. These are from our friends who are over at Land Title. And so when they look at this, here is your August data. This is your top. Here is your year-to-date data in the middle. And then this is just your graph of both of these numbers. But check this out, guys. Your average concession across the board right now is $10,000. 62% of all real estate resales, because this is resale, right? This is not counting your new builds. This is resale data. 62% of them had a concession attached to it. 62%, guys, for $10,000. Guys, this is what I'm saying. Like, when we go through and we look at interest rates are coming down, but look at that, interest rates are going down. We look at sellers that are becoming more and more motivated. And we can actually see that they are actually negotiating $10,000 up front. Like, guys, when you get over 500,000, welcome to our price point in Colorado. Sellers are writing a $10,000 check to your buyers. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, thanks for buying your house, buying my house. Here's $10,000. Guys, this is what's happening right now. And so if we look at this, and we were just looking at it over the average over the year, guys, it's higher. It's $600 higher than where we have averaged the rest of the year. And there's more concessions. Guys, 2% more concessions. Guys, like, this is great. This is great news for your buyers. This is really good news. And these are the conversations I'm going to have, right? I'm going to be at this party. Remember, lots of holidays coming up. And someone's going to say, how's the real estate market? And I'm going to say, you know what? I just saw an interesting fact that I'm in business with one of the largest title companies in Colorado. And they're actually seeing that 62% of all sellers are writing a $10,000 check for buyers. So if you're a buyer in this situation, like, now's a great opportunity. Now, I want to do some research on the front end of this, because they might be a seller and they need to understand what that looks like, right? And so we are in the business at this point is managing expectations. We are in the managing expectation business. As a fiduciary for my seller, I'm going to make sure that they understand, like, hey, at this price point, we're seeing about $10,000 in concessions that are going from the seller to the buyer. And so not only do we want to look at all the enemies, all of the homes for sale in your neighborhood, because here's the deal, we don't care about past sales right now. Past sales don't mean a whole lot of anything. What we need to look at is all the homes that are for sale in your neighborhood currently, how long they've been on the market, what is their sales price, how many price adjustments have they done, and we need to beat them. How do we beat them? Well, we can't move your house. The houses, we're not going to add any bedrooms. We're probably not going to add any bathrooms. So we got to beat them on price. And then we're going to look at the concessions and make sure that our clients are comfortable with the concessions that are going out so that we're in a place where we can negotiate. But
Hey,
let's look
Charles,
about, yes.
does land titles, because that's all residential, right? Do they do one by condos versus, or you kind of just use the price ranges is the best we got?
I'm sure that I'm sure they do. This is the only one that she just sends me now a monthly. As soon as she gets it, she just sends it over to me because she knows that I want this for this conversation.
Right.
I would be willing to bet that they have it broken down in a bigger packet, and they're probably the no first stats that they send out, which I don't look through those. I bet they're in there.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome. So let's look at national news from Housing Wire, Logan Motoshami, and guys, like 2 weeks, we're going to be unveiled with this guy, and I'm super pumped for this. And this is Friday, so this is rear view facing data that we are reading today, right? So this is the week prior from Friday that we are reading Tuesday. All right, so we got a little bit of time in between. It says, can mortgage rates get below 6% with this Federal Reserve? Guys, all signs are pointing to yes, but no one wants to make that knee-jerk reaction. So it says, now that the jobs week is over, we are left with one truth. It really is about the labor market over inflation. All right, labor market over inflation. Here's the deal. We had this Federal Reserve that was like curbing inflation. We're curbing inflation. We're curbing inflation. And they weren't moving the rates. That's why we lived through 23, well, the end of 2022 through the beginning part of 25, guys. That's why we saw interest rates where they were, and they were not moving. They're like, we're fixing inflation. And then what happened? We started seeing people losing their jobs. They weren't lowering the cost of money. And I get it. We're real estate agents. We're selfish when we think about like what do rates do? Well, they help people buy houses. Like I get it. Like there's no judgment in that statement. That's just where our minds go. But what does it really do? Well, people can't go and expand businesses. They can't go hire people. They can't go buy more widgets because the cost of money, right? When we look at this thing, that's also the trade-off with the cost of money. So money's not being flowing freely from the bank to these entrepreneurs and to these business owners. And so they're like, well, I need to make money and no one's buying anything and I can't expand. Well, how do I cut expenses? I'm tied into this lease for the next 5 years, and they fire people. So it's the labor market over inflation. Now they're saying, okay, well, we're not going to mess with inflation anymore. It's going up a little bit, but you know what's more important? Making sure Americans have jobs, which it is. Americans being employed is important, very important. And so what they're doing now is we're seeing that Americans are losing their jobs, and they're like, maybe we've kept this too tight. Maybe we need to go through and make sure the cost of money is flowing a little bit more freely. No, we're not going back to 2-3% because, guys, that caused some of the issues that we're in right now. And what they're looking at is they're going to say, well, where is the equilibrium that we can drop it down to where not everyone's rushing out to go spend money, but to where the people that are looking to spend money will. All right, so it goes through here and it says that this is what we're looking at. And it says, when we dive into this, because we're not looking at this, let's look at the year inventory rate. Here we are. We have 20% more inventory than we did last year. All right, so we're looking at this thing, and it kind of petered off a little bit right here. We can see this September drop, nothing huge, but it definitely dropped. Still more inventory. We're still not to 2019. And remember, 2019 is our normal market. Like we consider 2019 the most normal market that we had. Whenever we look at like past markets, remember 2020, global pandemic, 2021, mortgage rates, money was free. 2022, we saw it start off real low and then it skyrocketed up interest rates. Like it shocked everyone. 23, 24, the beginning part of 25, guys, very, very elevated interest rates. So you guys, most of us on this call have not lived through a normal real estate market. Congratulations, right? Like that's where you guys are right now. And so we have this inventory 20% more. And guys, I think this is a good thing. If I'm representing a buyer, we just looked at millennials, Gen Zs coming online, bank of mom and dad, interest rates are coming down, concessions, $10,000, motivated sellers. Like, guys, I think this is the perfect storm. I think this is the perfect storm for buyers to get into the game. But then as we look at new listings, We see this like we're right in line. We see a little bit, like a couple came online, some fell off, right? And again, when we look at new listings data, if there is a home, and we are seeing still some bidding wars, and we are seeing some homes go on the market day one and they come off day three, and this would not capture that data. Remember, this is scraping information off the MLS, so homes actually have to sit a little bit before it's actually captured. But we're right in line. Like this isn't doing anything weird. We see some seasonality here, and we're right where it all is. But your price cut percentage, 41%. 41% of all homes that are coming online right now are taking a price cut. We do know that in a normal market, which would be 2019, only 1/3 of all homes would have taken a price cut. So 33%, we're a little bit elevated here. We've gone from 33% being your industry norm to a 41.5, let's round it up and call it 42% of all homes. And so when we're looking at this, I think that as a buyer's agent and having conversations, I'm probably looking for the homes that maybe haven't taken a price cut yet, but we know that they probably will because of time on market. And I'm going to educate my buyers and say, listen, I know this home looks like it's out of your price range, but what if we were to be able to get them to come down $30,000 plus get you a $10,000 concession? Because here's the deal, guys. People have fatigued keeping these homes on the market. Guess what? No one wants to be living in a home for 5 months through showings where a random showing will pop up at 4 o'clock at night and you have to rearrange your plans. No one wants to live through that. Guys, people are tired of this. We need to get back into the point where we're going through, and if our clients are like, yeah, we'd love to write some low offers, let's write some low offers. Because guess what? It's only low because of where they started their price point at. Who knows what it's really going to sell for? And so with this happening, guys, I would say that this is probably our strategy going forward is, hey, I know that these homes haven't met your criteria. This one does. Yes, it's priced a little bit higher. They've been sitting on the market for about 60 days now. What if we go check it out? And if you like it, let's see if we can work a deal with these people. Guys, I think that dog hunts. We look at it, here's your purchase application data. Guys, also exciting, right? We look at this, we have people, we are still elevated over 2024. Now, this is week over week data. Don't get lost in this graph going down right here. It's still over 2024 data. You still have people whose hands are up in the air talking to lenders. Guys, this is actually people talking to lenders, figuring out what they qualify for. Then maybe they're getting a little discouraged and they go and they bring it up to the bank of mom and dad, and then mom and dad turn back around. And so we need to be making sure that we're in relationship with as many people as possible. Because if mom and dad have a lender or a real estate agent, we better hope that real estate agent's us. Right? We need to be having as many conversations as possible, guys. Like this is actually great news, right? We are still in this time period where people are wanting to purchase a home. And with price cuts and concessions and inventory, guys, like this is the perfect market for a buyer. As perfect as it's going to get, right? And even if we were to rewind and we think about 2021 and we're like, but Charles, interest rates, super cheap. Here's the deal, guys. That wasn't a great market for a buyer. That super sucked as a buyer. It was zero to no fun to be a buyer. Yes, money was free, but you were also competing with 20 other people. You were also going through and going $100,000 over asking. You were waiving all your contingency. You were giving up the naming rights to your firstborn child. It was not a fun market to participate in. This is a market where I get it. Interest rates are a little bit higher. And yet we have so much negotiation powers where both the buyer and the seller are coming to the table, and they're agreeing on stuff to get these deals done. You're pending, we're right in line, nothing crazy here. Your total pending across the board, still right in line. And here we are. Jobless claims, they're going up. Guys, they're rising, they're rising, they're rising. Now, when we're looking at this thing, it says after jobs week, we run into inflation week. which is still very important to the Federal Reserve. Remember, dual mandate. Keep the cost of money and keep the American people employed. This teeter-totter. This is what they're on. And it's almost impossible because they almost conflict. A lot of people believe that there's no way this dual mandate can be hit. You've got to sacrifice one. And at this point, it looks like they're going to sacrifice inflation. They're going to say, all right, we got to keep Americans employed, which I can get behind. And they're going to let the cost of goods go up to make sure that Americans are employed and can feed their families. And it's saying that we also have to be cautious. They have to be cautious about rate cuts due to tariff inflation. Right? It says we also have the annual job revisions coming out, which who knows what happens there. I bet it goes up. So Thursday, we'll see. But this number, guys, this is what they're watching right now. They want to make sure people are employed. Now, here's the deal. If people do start to lose their jobs, super sucks. It does 100%. Like, we do not want Americans to lose their jobs. That affects their ability to feed their families. And yet, if it does happen, guys, your phones are going to start ringing from your buyers because they're going to drop rates. They will. Now, we're not going to go home and we're not going to pray for this to happen because, again, super un-American. And yet, I just want you guys to know that the correlation between jobless claims and interest rates, claims go up, interest rates go down, historically speaking. But let's look at mortgage rates. And so if I can click off of this, there we go. Guys, this is as of yesterday. This is 3 months, but let's look at 1 month at a time. Guys, it's going down. Now, this is closer to prime, right? This is a fairly qualified buyer that's landing here. And yet, guys, this is where we should be having these conversations. Like, it's going down. The issue, what we're going to find is that people are going to try to time the market. They're going to say, yeah, but it's got further to go. And we don't know. We don't know what the furthest this looks like. And the other thing that we're going to run into, and we're seeing it already, is people are starting to refinance now. People actually believe that this might be the best it gets. And again, we don't know what the Fed does here. The Fed could send some things into a shock. And if that does happen, we could see some weirdness in this. So we just need to be making sure that we're having as many conversations as possible. So, guys, like this, again, let's not time the market. This just means we need to go figure out what our people's vision is for the next 6 months, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year time frame when they're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. Be making sure that we're educating them about the concessions, about the interest rates, about the inventory on what we're looking at, and seeing what is the best solution for them as they go forward.